G'day everyone and welcome back to Talking Leadership. This is your podcast host, Eric Perez. As always, thank you for your support of the podcast and I welcome you all back to our ongoing discussion around this thing called leadership. My guest today wears many hats and I'll start at the first one. She is a careers educator and researcher at the University of Southern Queensland, is currently the Queensland Divisional President for the Career Development Association of Australia and the owner of Clear Outlook. Can I welcome to the podcast Jennifer Luke? How are you, Jennifer?
Very good, Eric, and thank you for the invitation today.
No worries. Much appreciated having you here. I know how busy you are. So let's get straight into it. In this podcast, like many that will come, we're going to focus on a particular theme and just digging into it a little bit deeper. So the issue of measuring success. Now that's been talked about a lot in my podcast because I've made it a clear topic area of interest to me because in the leadership literature and for those leaders that I've encountered, and I'm sure for those listening, the leaders that they have encountered, measuring success means very different things in very different organizational contexts. And so I'd like to maybe tease that apart from your perspective, Jennifer, by maybe first asking you, how do you define it for you personally? And then maybe unpack this thing called measuring success from your perspective.
Well, thank you, Eric. I think with looking at measuring success really does come down to, as you said, understanding that how one person measures success is not always how someone else might. And the first thing you've got to do is understand all the stakeholders that might be involved in a project that you're working on, or within, if you're in a leadership role where you might have staff that you're working with, is understanding what is required and that what is body visualizing as being how they would measure success. And mentioning about the different areas that I work within, initially before I moved into vocational psychology and in that career development space, I used to work in information technology. So I was working as a developer and I did a lot of work in the IT industry. And of course, that is all about software development process, about management. And it's the same rules there as you do working within a university, within an organization. It's about understanding the stakeholders first. And so measuring success, I would say that some of the things you've got to think about is that, it could be about profit. That could be what is the main way that you will measure success. But you've got to think about the satisfaction level of stakeholders, your employee satisfaction, your own satisfaction, your level of learning and knowledge. What are you learning out of this experience? Or it could be, how are you spending and balancing your time? So there's a number of different ways, and you could look at all of those and go, all of them matter when the final outcome of a project, how you measure that success. But sometimes it's only a few of those that people are looking at. You need to understand what is it that every stakeholder is looking at that they'd be considering as being that is success for that project. So I'd really say, what I mentioned at the very beginning, different people see different ways that they measure success. So you really do have to stop and make sure you understand all the other stakeholders are going to be involved in the process of a particular project.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you for that. And that sets the context for success, because I think when we're talking about organizations, again, depending on the industry, things like key performance indicators are critical in terms of the success of the business. And there's more than a little focus on bottom line in some industries because of the nature of those industries. And so when I've had the opportunity to speak to some what I would call more forward-thinking leaders and definitely more effective leaders than I've seen in my travels, at least, that they've indicated that measures of success for them are about the other. So how are we developing our team? How do we help to develop and build persons that will vie to replace me when I leave the organization? That to me it brings very different lens to when we're discussing measuring success. And I still think that it's a work in progress because there is really no one unified view. And for me, and it's a personal thing, the measures of success need to be about your people, because if you've got highly functioning teams, you've got high degrees of trust, and you've got what I would call a functional culture, as in people are respected and their professionalism is valued, you're going to get good KPIs anyway. Does that ring true for you?
It does. It really does, Eric. As soon as you started mentioning about having to think about all the people that are involved, one thing that I always stand by is don't get caught up in the process and forget the people. That's probably one of the main things that I personally always consider and remember, which is no matter how big or small a project might be, you have to follow a process, of course, and you able to provide clear goals or outcomes as to why you're doing this, make it relevant to everyone that's involved so that they know why they're following a particular path or why they have to do these particular tasks. But if you get caught up in the process and forget about the people, then you're going to lose that engagement with everybody. I completely agree with you on that. It is about the people.
Yeah, okay. So from a career development point of view, so let's put the researcher hat to one side and maybe the entrepreneur hat to one side, and let's look at your experiences in the career development space. What kind of interventions come easily to mind, if any, around providing development opportunities for leaders at various levels to look at what success means and how you celebrate those successes? Because I truly believe we don't spend enough time celebrating the success of an organisation. And I don't mean every time you have a win, you have to have a party or you have to take time off work. But at some point, I think there's a psychological need. Again, correct me if I'm wrong here. I'm just trying to think out loud that you need an ability to be able to look back and go, what went right? And even in a success, there'll be some hiccups or things that went wrong, and time to unwind and understand what those things mean, I think would be a critical element of a highly functional team or an organisation at least.
When you're talking about career development, is known as vocational psychology. And the difference between vocational psychology and other disciplines, such as, say, organizational psychology, is that vocational psychology is focusing on the individual first. So you can be in an organization, but you take it with a vocational psychology approach, as in talking and working with individual staff members. It's about that staff member and putting aside the needs of the organization first and looking at the person and making sure that they are prepared, that they are what you would call being adaptable, so that they've got that flexibility, they've got that resilience for change. And that's something that happens time within companies, within any type of project, is that there's always going to be change. At the moment, 2020 has been just a year. I don't know about you, Eric, but it's almost daily where you're having to go, what do I need to sort of alter and adapt to, because there's changes all the time. From an individual perspective, and let's say a staff member within an organization, it's making sure that they have that adaptability. So career perspective, from a vocational psychology perspective, it's working with them on seeing, do they have that curiosity, that to continue learning. So, picking up new skills, being open to learning new skills, to have that confidence, to have that self-efficacy, believe in themselves. They believe that they can work towards a goal or an outcome. They believe in their own abilities. So there's a number of ways that you can work with somebody on building that form of adaptability. So I would say, from a career perspective, when you're working with someone, before preparing them to step into new tasks or even a new role, maybe if it's even going for a promotion, it's making sure that they're adaptable to change, because that's going to be something that will happen on an ongoing basis, whether it's a small or large issue. So you have that flexibility and resilience, which comes out of being adaptable.
Just as a compare and contrast, and again, I'm using your own experiences here. Let's put on the owner of Clear Outlook hat, the entrepreneur, the consultant's hat. How does measuring success in a business where you might be solo, how does measuring success then differ when you don't have a team that you have to be worried about, and it's about you and what motivates you to do the work that you do? Can you give me some insights there?
From a more entrepreneurial or even as a sole business owner, it is very much about, yes, you might be the main person, like the sole person that's running a small business out of usually like a home office. But the thing is to be successful, it's all about having that engagement with others, both stakeholders that could be prospective clients, so stakeholders that could be prospective partners in a project. So it's about building authentic engagement and relationships. To me, that is a major measure of success, and it's got to be authentic. That's the thing. And coming out of that, you can build on your legacy. So as an entrepreneur, as a sole business owner, you will have a particular focus on areas that you want to be able to build into. A lot of the time that comes out through advocacy. So there might be particular areas or particular cohorts that you're wanting to focus on. And it's about, so for me, working more from an entrepreneurial point of view, you've got to have that authenticity in regards to your engagement, to your advocacy, and that will bring out both respect for your business, but individual, but it's also being able to provide that authentic respect to others as well. So it's really building that community around you so that you're being able to support others and they are doing the same for you. Because when it comes to entrepreneurialism, it is about you having that mindset, what opportunities are out there. And if you're going to create those opportunities, measuring success comes about for me from building those authentic relationships.
Measuring success, are there still elements of that as a construct for research that still need to be looked at, or have we done enough to understand what it really means?
Well, when it comes to research, and as you said, Eric, is that you and I are sort of going down that path at the same time. And when you're looking at doing research, whether you are doing doctoral or you have graduated and you've moved into postdoctoral research or further down, even if you're an academic that working in research for 10, 15, 20 years, you still have to look at success as being, don't get caught up in the process and forget the people. And I say that all the time to myself when I'm looking at the research and the people that I collaborate with, but also with my job at USQ, I talk to a lot of doctoral candidates, a lot of students that are of doing research as well. And it's making sure that they're aware that, to do research, don't make it into a lonely journey. I think that's the main thing, is that it's so important to build a support network around you, which could be other researchers that you're collaborating with, but also just able to share what you're doing and to be able to network with other people. So from a researcher, I always believe that it's very much when your success, it's using that entrepreneurial mindset too, is that while you're researching an area, there's no reason why you could not reach out to people who are researching in science or engineering, because everybody is doing the same thing in terms of actual research, the process of research. But having those different disciplines means that if you connect in with each other, there's opportunity where you might be able to merge those disciplines and have something down the track where you're looking at education and training and engineering. There could be a project track that you could work together on. It might not be right now, but it could be a future opportunity. So again, measuring success from a researcher's point, I still think it comes down to those authentic relationships.
Jennifer, thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Eric. It's been lovely to talk to you.
Appreciate it, mate. For those listening, this has been Talking Leadership as always.
Thank you for your support, and I'll catch you all on the next podcast.